and a very warm welcome to this special report on weak monsoon forecast on Rstv television. After reeling under a sweltering heat wave, showers have brought joy and delight. Though the country has received rainfall 13% above the average till June 15th and the Mumbai deluge threw life off gear, yet clouds of apprehension hover over the monsoon this year and possibilities of the rain gods playing truant loom large. The Met Office has predicted a deficient monsoon and a host of related tensions have gripped farming community, besides fears of a setback to expectations of economic recovery. After her husband's demise, Sita Devi and her daughter are working hard to make ends meet. Sita heard news of the IMD forecast of lower than normal rains over the radio, and immediately a deep melancholy took over life itself. As she does household chores, on top of her thoughts are her finances. The possibility of having to defer her daughter's wedding this November if rains are below normal. At the center of it all is water. Irrigation of her land is the biggest challenge. Sita will need 20 liters of diesel to pump out enough water for each acre, and that's an indulgence beyond her means.
बारिश हुई तो अच्छी फसल होती है तो हम लड़की की शादी करेंगे, और नहीं बारिश हो रही है तो हम लड़की की शादी नहीं कर पाएंगे। पैसे ही नहीं है तो खेत में फसल नहीं होगी तो हम शादी कैसे कर सकते हैं।
Sita Devi's story finds an echo of sorts with another farmer, Jhallu Ram. Jhallu suffered massive losses in the unseasonal rains in March this year. And the poor rains forecast has compounded worries. He had taken a loan of 1 lakh rupees last year and was relying hopes for a good yield to pay off debts. Options he's considered extend to begging for a living or even suicide.
साहब कम बारिश होती है तो हम जो सरकार से लोन लिया हुआ है उसको नहीं चुका पाएंगे, क्योंकि उसकी किस्त देने में, उसकी अदायगी करने में हमें बड़ी परेशानियां आएंगी, क्योंकि जब पैदा ही नहीं होगी, बारिश नहीं पड़ेगी, पैदा नहीं होगी तो हम चुका कहां से पाएंगे। इंद्रदेव से प्रार्थना कर रहे हैं सभी लोग कि भाई बारिश पड़े, बारिश पड़ती है तो सब कुछ होता है, नहीं साहब किस्त की तो चलती क्या है, हमारे भोजन के भी लाले पड़ जाएंगे।
Almost immediately after release of the IMD forecast, the government sprang into action. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for the challenge to be converted into an opportunity. He suggested looking at other avenues of irrigation, pitching for boosting creation of farm ponds as a short-term effort. The Finance Minister looked to allay immediate concerns, saying a mildly deficient monsoon would not impact food production. The Agriculture, the Rural Development, the Food and Civil Supplies Ministries also expressed readiness to tackle the situation.
I think to see that any eventuality as far as drought is concerned, we will have to conserve, harness the monsoon water to our best of capacity. And for that we have asked that particular branch of my department of my ministry to see that watershed program should be taken on a larger scale, but where the surface water is available only through rain, then we will have to regenerate the old water bodies, reservoirs, and for that also that is in coordination with Agriculture Ministry, we have started work.
पूरा प्रिपेयर्ड है, हमारी यहाँ सप्लाई की कोई कमी नहीं होगी, साल भर भी बारिश नहीं होगा तो हमारे पास में इतना स्टॉक है कि जो पीडीएस में जरूरत है, पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम में, गरीबों के लिए उतना अनाज हमारे पास में सफिशिएंट है।
Even as the government has vouched to engage all machinery at its disposal to deal with a second straight year of deficient monsoons and deny the looming distress in vulnerable pockets of the country, a closer look at the ground situation clearly says there is a lot at stake. By downgrading the monsoon forecast for the year to deficient, the Indian Meteorological Department has pressed the panic button. If this monsoon forecast turns out to be accurate, the country would be facing its 12th worst drought since 1950 and 2 consecutive years of the calamity for the first time in 30 years. In April this year, the National Weather Agency had forecast that monsoon rains would be 93% of the average, which is categorized as below normal. Now, with the revised projection of 88%, the monsoon is categorized as deficient. The southwest monsoon that normally extends between June and September is essentially a reversal of wind patterns. Cool oceanic breeze blows over the hot Indian landmass, resulting in rainfall. It starts over Kerala, its first port of call on the Indian mainland, in the first week of June. This rain-bearing system goes on to cover the whole of India. The 4-month-long southwest monsoon season accounts for nearly 75% of the country's total rainfall. And that's critical, because about 55 to 60% of the area covered by farming is still rain-fed.
4 महीने में हम 12% है, लेकिन जो मंथली डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का भी जो हमारा पूर्वानुमान है कि जुलाई में करीब 92% होगा और अगस्त में करीब 90%। तो मोटा मोटी जो ये डेफिशिएंसी अगर हम माने कि ये सही उतरेगी तो बचता है कि जून ठीक होगा और सितंबर भी, क्योंकि जून और सितंबर का जो अमाउंट है वो कम है और जुलाई और अगस्त का अमाउंट ज्यादा है। If agriculture is the backbone of the Indian economy, it would not be wrong to say that the monsoon is the backbone of Indian agriculture. Last year, India received 12% less than normal rains. Crop yields were badly hit and farm produce dropped. Farmers were left in distress. A repetition this year would be the playing out of a nightmare. It's almost like a vicious spectre that stares them in the face. Already hit by unseasonal rain during the Rabi season, weak monsoons may bring trouble for the farming community during the Kharif cycle. 2/3 of Indians depend on farm income, and over 40% of India's cropped area does not have any form of irrigation other than rains. India gets nearly 53% of its agricultural produce from the Kharif season from June to September. The Rabi season from November to February accounts for 47% food production. Experts say that India cannot keep relying on monsoon. Inadequate investment has been the biggest pain for this sector.
Farmers need to be compensated in some manner if their crop is lost. For that you need an insurance policy. We have a policy today, but that policy is absolutely lopsided. You pay 3,000 rupees, at the end of the day, when your crop is lost, you get 300 rupees. If the farmer this time had a bad monsoon, God bless him, we've had at least about 10,000 suicides in the country in the last few months. We can't afford this any longer.
Small dugouts created as farm ponds in Mathura district under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme are now playing big role in tiding over droughts. The farm ponds are constructed at the lower side of the fields, and the runoff from the high side of the fields are channelized into the pond. The ponds help in preserving rainwater and using it during drought periods.
गहराई कम होने के कारण इसमें पूरा पानी नहीं होता था, इसलिए हमने ग्राम सभा ने निर्णय लिया है कि ये क्यों ना इसकी हमारी ग्राम सभा की जो जमीन पड़ी है दूसरी वाली, इसमें एक नया तालाब खुदवा दें। नया तालाब खुदवाने से हमको फायदा ये होंगे कि एक तो हमारे जो मनरेगा के अंतर्गत जो मजदूर हैं उनको रोजगार मिलेगा, मजदूरों को रोजगार मिलेगा, साथ ही ये तालाब जब हमारा खुद जाएगा तो जो पानी के जो हमारी उपलब्धता और दुगनी हो जाएगी। तो एक तो तालाब का स्टोर इसमें हो जाएगा, दूसरा पानी का स्टोर हो जाएगा। अब जो हमने खुद बता दिया कि बारिश होती नहीं है तो पानी भरने के लिए समस्या होती है, तो सामने हमारी एक समरसेबल लगी हुई है जो उसमें 5 इंची का पाइप है, उसमें नाली डली हुई है, पाइप का कॉर्नर यहाँ तक पॉइंट छूटा हुआ, केवल इतना थोड़ा सा लिंक करना है, तुरंत इसमें कम से कम 2-3-4 दिन चलाने के बाद तुरंत ये पूरा भर जाएगा पानी से।
Divergence of the monsoon from normal progress will not only impact farmers, there will also be a strong ripple effect on other sectors as well. We'll take a look at all that after a short break. Welcome back. Besides a possible hefty blow to the farming community, poor rains may snowball, pushing the gloom to the entire economy. A rise in food prices will trigger inflation, escalating interest rates, leading to slugging industrial growth and overall GDP numbers being hit. A bad monsoon will likely mean cold water on growth plans and expectations. Past experience has amplified that strongly enough. The severe droughts of 1972, 1979, 1987 and 2002 pulled back India's GDP growth substantially. For this year, the World Bank projected that India would grow at 7.5%, outstripping China as the fastest among major economies in the world. But if we go by previous instances, the monsoon rains, or rather their shortfall, may have other plans.
The bad monsoon should have impact on the GDP, both on the demand as well as the supply side. Fact that the large number of people depend on agriculture activity, so it has impact on employment as well as the consumption pattern. So definitely we do see the impact on GDP. I mean, the bad monsoon should have. But it all depends on the extent of deficient rainfall that we are going to see at the end of the day. But whatever the prediction that we have at the moment, we should expect a negative impact on GDP, particularly from the supply side, not necessarily from the demand side, because there are many initiatives the government has taken up, both at the central and state governments. So on the consumption side, you may not see that much impact, but on the supply side, you might see a big impact.
Corporate India too is eagerly looking to these skies. Industrialists are worried that back-to-back poor monsoons may further weaken rural income, purchasing power and rural demand, impacting corporate earnings. The rain forecast looms over many sectors that revived from a slump in sales this year.
Will definitely be impacted if the less rainfall is there, or production will be less, vegetable price will go up, particularly pulses, etc. If drought comes, then it's a very precarious position. So definitely it will affect the corporate effect, Government of India.
Monsoon concerns have weighed on gold demand too. Indian gold demand remained sluggish last week as concerns over a weak monsoon forced farmers, key to the country's bullion demand, to cut back spending. Nearly 2/3 of India's gold demand comes from rural areas where jewelry is a traditional store of wealth for millions who have no access to the formal banking system.
People are already thinking that gold may go down further. That is why they are not buying. So demand at present is also sluggish, and then added by the fear from monsoon, it has added to it, and now people are thinking that they should wait when market goes below 26,000 perhaps. They are waiting for that kind of period, then some demand will come.
Another potential victim of weak monsoon rains, at least indirectly, is India's automobile sector. Two-wheeler and small car sales depend significantly on demand from rural areas. And the fallout of a weak monsoon hitting hard is obvious. Here too, the biggest prayer is that predictions turn out wrong. Extend that to the power sector too, and this one is more direct. Low rain means lower water levels in several hydroelectric dams, and hence lower electricity generation. Thermal power would have to bear the brunt of power generation to avoid a power crisis. Power Minister Piyush Goyal had expressed concern over the possibility of a weak monsoon, but added that the country is sufficiently prepared for it. Weak monsoon anxieties have already sent the stock markets into a tizzy. Looking ahead, foreign investment trends and progress in the monsoon will set the tone for the market. Recent volatile trading sessions seen in domestic stock markets is due to fears of subnormal monsoon. Experts foresee a further downside for the equity markets, citing deficient monsoon rains and rising global crude oil prices.
Market depends on the financial and economic conditions of the country. Now, India being predominantly an agriculture-dominated country, a good crop affects each and every sector of this economy. Markets do feel scared if the rainfall is bad, because then it is going to have a very serious impact on the economy as a whole.
Then there's the inflation factor. A deficient monsoon will raise the need for greater imports of pulses and cooking oil, stoking inflation. The recent dip in wholesale price inflation came with plunging global crude prices. Inflation arising from the weak monsoon promises to be a challenge in the other direction.
Culture front, in any case, we are struggling so far as exports are concerned. Our exports of agriculture products are down by around 8.5% even in the last fiscal, and share of agriculture in total export has come down to less than 10%. Now, if we are not getting the adequate monsoon, then definitely it will impact India's agriculture exports.
The Reserve Bank of India's new inflation mandate could stop it from slashing interest rates again. After slicing rates for the third time on June 2nd, Governor Raghuram Rajan explicitly tied further cuts to how the annual monsoon affected food prices. The Reserve Bank of India is expected to keep interest rates steady while adopting a tougher stance against inflation. The central bank also advised the government to put in place a contingency plan to deal with the possibility of a below-normal monsoon and its impact on food grain production and prices.
Notably, the IMD predict a below-normal southwest monsoon. Astute food management is needed to mitigate possible inflationary effects. We have always said we are data contingent. There are possibilities if the monsoon turns out much better than forecast by various forecasting agencies, where there might be more room that emerges, or if the actions by the government are such as to contain the possible inflationary effects. So we've used the room that the data gives us, and our policy will continue to be data contingent.
To soften the blow for farmers in case of drought, the government has said it would offer subsidies in diesel, power and seeds. But the need of the hour is to step up efforts to expand irrigation facilities and insure farmers against weak monsoon. The government's biggest challenge would be ensuring fair returns to farmers in case crops fail, while looking to contain retail inflation within a comfortable limit. Giving a push to the rural demand in the absence of adequate farm incomes and stirring up economic growth will also be a Herculean task. Reducing dependence on the erratic monsoons, that seems to be the mantra and the real remedy. Well, that's all we could pack for you in this edition. Thanks for watching.